Ay. All right, now I'm starting to get back into my little Metroid phase. If y'all couldn't tell, I've always loved Metroid, but recently, for some reason, I've been getting like really into it again. Which I'm not complaining. It's Metroid. It's my second favorite franchise of all time, right behind Xenoblade, and I kind of been wanting to make content about it for a long time now. But since I'm mostly Xeno focused, Metroid seem out of place. But I want to make Metroid content, and y'all even said y'all wanted to see some, so I'm gonna start making some. But I cannot get over this damn scene in Metroid Dread. All right, I'm replaying through Metroid Dread again for like the however many time to get all the like the gallery unlocks, 100% completion, get all of like the ending arts, I guess. And God, this one cutscene in Dread, it just kills me every time. It's absolutely perfect. Dread is my favorite Metroid game, and I've played it way more than any other Metroid game. It's such a phenomenal game, but this one cutscene right here gets me every time.
Anaman Henki Maradis, Pisalakutar Ili Zohar Hasana, Ili Chozo Manfaragai Atasen Maboris, Ashkar Behek, Ninu Gabara Neporien Levat Balis Henniku, Hemsenili Tanumar Tarbichozo Rahama Hasana, Maboris Ili Maukin, Saharilin Ili Maukin, Pinoras Hasana Tarbilichozo. Urairisitos Karodan Ilimathroid, Nirmugitalar Suradis me Iliagarna Lima, Uramahar Pantamugitos Saralbura Mathroid, Kunihabari Hundar Tarasabekes en Holchanim, Linkatalu Ili Uliris, Sabalba, Ashkar Behek, Hasari Gale Ubana Dosh Elegar Mir. Ninu Barash, nek ili ferun dar hadar. Les ninu kedar, ili mathroid mugi. Tanam darbi hadar bunta. Eiris dosh eka ili gimel. Ashkar behek gabori dosh balan ili mathroid dosh ili tarin nalima hemsatar. Humpim bi galki sakra. Dosh horek bura. Ninu mehirin ili zoha hasana. Bimura Kabara ili Sahali, Doshuran ili Mathroid. Galmir Tostek, Ananakoden Mugi Akalai. Ashkar Behek, Hem ili Maukin, Hasana Hasari, Anabalta Dosh Humahar Sarian. Ili Darin Alima, Les Nudakan Dosh Geren Humahar Korgangal Turuta Mathroid. Sabalba. Talaris le shak sirugali nevak, Mugi lamai dosh goro humahar yoris me kohana. Aitar ili gelsu manu naloni ishka ili agarna lima. Mugi garama bi eris les nido. Ili tarin lima megori le shakutanka. Ontar humahar gels mugi barilin ilieris. Arek ebores ashkar behek elemeirisi dos karodan hum. Ninu aros hakame ninu mahar meheni dos tumema ninu mahar yoris. Ishili mathroi meili agarna lima. Habari bama mugi sarali lina tamahar toshek. Nutili mathroi desborodo. Ilioristar ashkar behek. Dora habar bados les maradan. Has bados les maradan. Ashka ulugal ata. Iliemai marhuma satari lin ashkar behek. Tamus arlan. Veje hadoran. Ninu habar kumane humdos. Devolen nili mathroi dim ishkanulisa tamaharisbi.
Kino ulo turuta. Ana maril sanur pura. Ay marhel kalom.
Ata estor daboris urahama. Ana habar kisadi ilisaka. Ana manbala meyata tamus.
That cutscene is so perfect, bro. It's so, I can't even begin to explain. There's so many different parts to it. We'll try to break it down and like why it's such a incredible cutscene. At first I was just gonna focus on the part where Samus spoke, but this entire cutscene is just incredible. It starts off with, Samus, she sees the hieroglyphs of Ravenbeak and commanding the other Machkin, and she's just standing there in awe, just admiring all of it. You can really see in her eyes. I like how in this game they kind of gave her more expression. We can actually kind of see her face a little bit now, like her eyes and her eyebrows. That's all you really need. A lot of emotion can be ascertained just from like eyebrow movements and the eyes. And I really like how Samus is being more expressive now. All right, just a little bit, nothing like Other M. I'll get onto that later, but please God, I don't want another Other M situation. But the way Samus was handled in this game was so good, just in general and as a redemption from what happened in Other M. But she's examining these hieroglyph, and she realizes that in that hieroglyph, that's Ravenbeak right there. And her realizing that's Ravenbeak, her Metroid power kind of surges. We know Samus is part Metroid now that she has Metroid DNA in her. She got a vaccine because she got infected by X parasites, and Metroids are the only natural predator to the X. So they took some DNA from the last baby Metroid, put it into a vaccine, and gave it to Samus, where she got infected by the X, so the Metroid DNA can go and fend off the X in her body. So now Samus is officially a Metroid. So that meme from forever goes that why can't Metroid crawl? She still can't crawl. Well, she can, because in Zero Mission, when she's in her Zero Suit, she can. But she finally is a Metroid. So it's finally real. Metroid can finally crawl. But aside from that, her Metroid power surges because she realizes that's Ravenbeak. And that's kind of like a failsafe in Metroids. There's two different types of tribes in the Metroid series we know so far: the Thoha and the Machkin. The Machkin are like super athletic and like combative. They're more of like a warrior type tribe, and that's where Samus gets her her superhuman athletic abilities, is because she has some Thoha and Machkin DNA in her. So not only is she part Metroid, she's also part Chozo of both tribes, the Thoha and the Machkin. And it's really cool. I fucking love the lore of this series. It gives Samus so much character and just development outside of just what we see in the games. Because there's a whole ass canon manga that unfortunately never got released outside of Japan. But just the whole lore of this series is just insane. I love the way lore and everything is handled. Is through story, like the world. The worlds and different alien planets and everything, just the environments of Metroid games tell the story and lore. So they're told through world building, which I really like, having to like figure out the lore on for ourselves instead of it being directly told to us. And even if when it is directly told to us, like here in Dread, it's done so well. But as a failsafe in Metroids, they're basically coded to react violently to Makin, since you know they are like a warrior type tribe and they were like opposing the Thoha. They didn't really get along too well, and the Thoha Chozo actually created the Metroids, so they put that little failsafe to kind of react violently and attack Makins, which is why her little like her Metroid power surged right there when she realized that that was Ravenbeak. And then while she's over here making this realization, she notices you know, the wave beam shot from the damn Emmy. I don't know if how she knew it was coming, but I guess she just kind of sensed it, and there was a flash, but it didn't really show up when she got shot. But she got shot by the wave beam shot, and the Emmy comes in and is about ready to kill her. But quickly, Quiet Robe deactivates the Emmy, and this is the first time we see Quiet Robe throughout the entire game. We see the Emmy deactivate, and we're like, okay, what's happening? Why is it malfunctioning? And we see him like hurry up and try to deactivate it, and we're like, okay, that's a Chozo? There's another Chozo besides just Ravenbeak? And if you watch the trailers, we already know that scene was going to happen. If you're just going in blind, you'd be hella confused, like, there's another Chozo. And then, well, Samus, and she's just portrayed so perfectly in this cutscene. Like, her body language and everything really shows her character. The Emmy's deactivated, but she's still sitting there with her arm cannon out, just focused directly on the Emmy in case anything happens, not letting her guard down or anything. Even though it's deactivated, she doesn't know what's going to happen next, and she's just staying ready no matter what. And when she hears Quiet Robe's footsteps behind her, she hurries up and like turns behind her to like point her arm cannon at Quiet Robe just in case he's a threat. And if you slow it down, you can kind of see she points her arm cannon back at him, and then she turns her head back and looks. So just in case it is a threat, she'll already have her arm cannon aiming at him and ready to shoot. Because if she just looked back first and it was a threat, she wouldn't really have enough time to fling her arm back and shoot. So she's already ready, prepared for a threat before she even knows what's happening. That just shows how like alert and aware of her surroundings she is. And she's just so fucking cool. I love Samus. She's so badass. Even when she's not even doing anything badass, she's just so cool. And when she realizes, oh shit, it's another Chozo, she fully turns her body away from the Emmy and points it at Chozo. Her full body, or points at Quiet Robe, her full body is facing Quiet Robe, because the last Chozo, the last and only Chozo that she's encountered so far, Ravenbeak, attacked her. So she's sitting here ready for Quiet Robe to attack her. But once she sees that he means no harm and he's peaceful, she like puts her arm cannon down and kind of just sits in this relaxed state. And it almost looks like she's sighing. So like she's in a tense situation, ready to shoot him. Once she sees that he's friendly, she's kind of just like, just relaxing, like relieved. It's, oh my god. And then Quiet Robe goes into dumping all of this lore on us. And it's not like any of this shit came out of nowhere, or it's in a weird spot throughout the game. Everything he's telling us is he's explaining the Chozo memories from Samus Returns. So the game before Dread was Metroid Samus Returns, which was a remake of Metroid 2 Return of Samus. And once you beat the game and get 100% item completion, in each area, you unlock a Chozo memory, which, you know, is a picture, kind of like a slideshow, and it shows you different events throughout history with the Chozo and everything. And Quiet Robe is here explaining it to us what these Chozo memories mean. And it's just so perfectly done. It's just so perfectly done. I'm not gonna go into like what they mean because he just explained it. But we were sitting here wondering what the hell do these Chozo memory means, and we're getting Chozo lore. We haven't learned anything about the Chozo up until this point in Samus Returns with these Chozo memories. Yeah, they were hinted at throughout the series in previous games, especially in Prime, but we never really saw anything about them. And here we're getting like all these pictures about the development, how, you know, it came to SR388, discover the X parasite, so they created the Metroids to fight off the X parasite, and they were kind of just like terraforming SR388 as like a new home planet. And then they discovered Aeon energy, and then that went all out of whack, made the Metroids go all haywire, and they started mutating. So as a failsafe, I guess, they kind of locked the Metroids away in the planet and like sealed them off to prevent from killing anyone. But of course, Ravenbeak had other plans. He wanted to use the Metroids as a bioweapon for like an army, so he killed off all the Thoha and only left Quiet Robe alive, because the Thoha are the only ones who are able to control the Metroids, and Quiet Robe most likely was like the leader of the Thoha, or he had the most knowledge, so he left Quiet Robe alive so Ravenbeak can use Quiet Robe to manipulate the Metroids. Since he can control them, he needs Quiet Robe alive to help him with his own plans. And it's oh my, and the lore, it's just also it's also incredible. It's so cool. It's so cool because the last slide in the Chosen Memories in Samus Returns was that slide that we saw where Ravenbeak was standing over, commanding his troops over the dead bodies of the Thoha, and that's like a secret extra slide what we get for 100%ing the game. And it just left a whole bunch of questions and mysteries, like who are these Chozo? Why is this Chozo killing these other Chozos? So apparently all Chozos aren't like friendly. These look like soldiers, well these ones look like they're peaceful. What is going on? And we never knew about it. And then Dread came along and dropped all of this right in this cutscene that we just watched, and it explains the whole lore and everything of behind those Chozo memories and what actually happened. And it's the whole time while that cutscene is playing, the iconic what was it, Lower Brinstar theme started playing. It originated from Super Metroid. That's that song we hear, that the best song in this series, by the way. That song, so popular, it finds its way to like creep into damn near every Metroid game, which I am not complaining at all. Every time I hear that song in a new Metroid game, I just lose my mind because it's such a beautiful song. It just started out as being just an area song, you know, for Super Metroid in Lower Brinstar. Lower Brinstar. And then it just found its way into other games like Metroid Prime 2 for Torvus Bog, Area 5 in SR388 and Samus Returns, and then now here in Dread during this cutscene of Quiet Robe, which is just so cool. It sounds so good in this game, and it plays over this part of the, you know, when he's going over all this lore, which makes sense. One of the most popular and recognizable songs from the series is playing during probably one of the most important parts of the entire game. So it's really to help solidify and like implant it into your memory that you remember this scene, and hearing this song is gonna help you remember it. Everything is just laid out and placed so perfectly. And after all of that, at the end of all of that, Samus drops her beautiful one-liner, Gino Olo Tarota, Anamaru Senpura, Anamahel Hello. And it's like, it's so fucking cool. She finally speaks for the first time ever, like audibly. I know in the older 2D games like Fusion, there was a text on the screen. That's obviously, they couldn't really portray a way of her speaking, but this is the first time we actually hear her speak audibly. I am not counting Metroid Other M, because that game is just an abomination in and of itself. That's not a Metroid game, all right? That is not a Metroid game. But here in Dread, when she drops that gorgeous one-liner, it's just so perfectly done. That is how you handle a silent protagonist speaking. Not like that bullshit in Other M, but this is how you do it. Short, sweet, and only what is absolutely necessary. After all of that lore and everything that Quiet Robe explained to her, all she had to say was, don't worry, I'll finish it, I'll end it once and for all. She's not like, oh, I understand, or I'll do my best, or like, I'll try my best. No, she confirmed, all right, hard confirmed, like, don't worry, I will end this once and for all. She is confident in her abilities to end this, and she will do whatever she can to get this mission done. She's not hesitant or scared. No, she is 100% positive and confident that she will get this done. And it's not from like an arrogant standpoint, like, oh, I'm Samus Aran, I'm the most, revered bounty hunter in the galaxy, I can do anything, da 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 da. It's not like a sense of arrogance like that, but she's just confident in her abilities and what she can do. She knows she can overcome any challenge that is thrown at her with ease. All right, it's from a place of confidence and not arrogance. She's confident that she will get the job done. She will stop Ravenbeak and his plans. She will finally end this once and for all. And during right there, when she drops her one-liner, her fucking theme song starts playing. It's so perfect. As she drops that one-liner, her theme song starts playing. Just to like cement that this is Samus fucking Aran, and she can overcome any obstacle that is thrown at her regardless of the situation. Doesn't matter what is happening, what she has to do, what the mission is, she will get it done. This is Samus Aran, the galactic bounty hunter, and she means fucking business, and she will get the job done. This whole cutscene is so perfect. It's so, oh my god, this is probably right here, this whole cutscene is probably my #1 favorite moment in all of gaming. All right, this one cutscene is probably my favorite moment in all of gaming, even more than some moments in any of the Xenoblade games or just Xeno games in general. I don't know how much I love the Xeno series, but this moment right here blows all of that shit out of the water. This overshines that so brightly. This is definitively my favorite moment in gaming of all time. Nothing can top this, bro. It's so perfect. After all this time, Samus being a silent protagonist, even when working alongside other characters and having other people talk to her and everything, she has never said a word. She has never said a word, but here, this is the perfect time. This is the perfect time for her to actually say something and finally drop her badass one-liner. It's here at the end of the timeline, finally wrapping up the entire Metroid saga, like the whole 2D series. This is it. Metroid Dread is at the end of the timeline, and everything that's happened has come around to this moment. And what makes it even better is that Ravenbeak, kind of, if you think about it, he was kind of the reason why the entire series started in the first place. The Thoha wanted to seal the Metroids away in SR388, so as to get rid of them and not have them hurt anybody. But Ravenbeak, he killed off the Thoha and tried using the Metroids anyway. And now the Metroids are a threat to the galaxy because they weren't able to be sealed off because he killed off the Thoha. So which means the start of the very first Metroid game, which is the beginning of the timeline, that game kicks off because, oh, Mother Brain and the Space Pirates are using the Metroids as a bioweapon. So now Samus has to go to planet Zebes and take care of the threat of the Space Pirates and the Metroids, as well as Mother Brain, setting the entire series into play. So if you think about it, Ravenbeak is the whole reason why the whole series has happened. Ravenbeak is like the catalyst. He's the reason why everything's happening. And then at the very end of the timeline, it's all coming back to him. All right, the entire series has been leading up to this very moment, the final showdown between Samus and Ravenbeak. Ravenbeak is probably the most, he's probably like the most dangerous, most dangerous, important enemy that Samus has had to face at this point. He's probably the strongest, more, stronger than even Dark Samus and any other threat. The biggest threat in the series is Ravenbeak, and Samus is finally coming to put an end to all of it. It's such a perfect time, bro, to wrap up the 2D series of like the whole Metroid saga, I guess. Not like the series itself Metroid, but like actual species Metroid. All the Metroids are eradicated. There's no more Metroids in the universe except for Samus herself, since she does have that Metroid DNA. So it's a perfect way to wrap it up, because Samus, she's coming to finally finish off what was started. Ravenbeak was the start of all of these issues, and now Samus is about to end all of these issues by ending him. It's such a perfect lead up, and the ending of the game is so perfect as well, because if you really think about it, the game ends off with the two strongest Metroids in the galaxy going against each other. Now, you may think Ravenbeak isn't a Metroid, he doesn't have Metroid DNA, which is true, but if you think about it, Samus was a Metroid all along, even without the Metroid DNA, because, the Metroids were created by the Chozo, and in Chozo, which is an actual written and like comprehensible language, which, we just heard fucking Quiet Robe and Samus speaking in Chozo, but in Chozo, Metroid isn't so much of a species, it's kind of just like a title. So Metroid meets Ultimate Warrior in Chozo, and Samus has always been an Ultimate Warrior. She is like the highest ranking bounty hunter, the most heavily armed and revered bounty hunter. She is the Ultimate Warrior. She's going off and doing all these missions, accomplishing everything she has. She is the Ultimate Warrior. And then Ravenbeak, he is like the leader of the Makan tribe, so you can also say he's an Ultimate Warrior. So the very end of the timeline with Metroid Dread, Samus, a Metroid literally and figuratively, and then Ravenbeak, a Metroid figuratively, coming together. The two biggest Metroids in the series are coming to clash for a fight of life or death. It is just so perfect. This whole game is just incredible, and I can't get over it. Alright, I cannot get over how fucking amazing this whole series and just this game in general is. I love Metroid. See, this is the type of storytelling I love. Through the environments and the worlds and everything, and not just a bunch of dialogue just thrown on the screen or, spoken by characters in a cutscene. Everything, damn near everything we've learned about Metroid lore and the story has all been through the worlds and environments and little details in the environments. Metroid is such an incredible series, and it really is a shame that not many people know about it. Metroid is still a relatively niche series, and it's such a shame because every game is absolutely incredible. No game in this series, excluding Other we're not talking about that. That is some other fuck shit that should have never happened. Excluding Other every single game in the series, minus Metroid Prime Federation Force, has been completely incredible. It's been an incredible game, and that's not just bias talking. Every single game in the series has scored at least high 80s and above, minus a few, but those ones are either like spin-off games or just weird, like Other in Federation Force. I think Pinball might be down there as well, but like all of the mainline games have all scored very high in reviews and just are beautiful. Every game is designed very well because they spend a lot of time in development. Metroid games, there are not a lot of Metroid games. and they released very far apart from each other. We don't get a lot of Metroid games, but when we do, it's like a decade in between each. All right, each game has so much time in development, so they have a lot of time to iron out the kinks of the gameplay and the story, and kind of really put everything into the games that they want to and need to. So the games and the series just turn out very fleshed out and well built in terms of the lore and the story and the world building and everything. I could go on for hours about how incredible Metroid is and why I love it so much, but this game, specifically that cutscene right there, is, oh my god, it's so incredible. I'm geeking out so hard right now. I'm not sorry, because I mean, if this doesn't show you how much I love Metroid, I don't know what does. This whole cutscene was just absolutely perfect. This whole game was just perfect. This whole series is just fucking perfect. Right? I don't even get this hype about Xenoblade. And that should say something. Alright? I'm out of breath, I'm hot, I am sweating, I'm dehydrated, but fuck, Metroid is such an incredible series. Samus is my #1 favorite video game character ever. So, I mean, that's also going to factor in to my hype for Metroid. Samus herself is so fucking badass and cool, and just her character is just confidence, resilience, whatever else. She just has it all. She's just so, she always pushes forward no matter what the task is or what obstacle lay in front of her. She will always get her mission done. Top priority is always to get her mission done, and she will do it in the most badass, confident way possible. Samus is one of the most respected female protagonists in gaming. I can't really think of too many more that are like as a high caliber or higher caliber than Samus is. Alright, she's one of the most well-known and respected female protagonists, and I'm so glad she hasn't been ruined. And oh, she's just so cool. Oh, I can go all day, but this video isn't about Samus. I could go all day on how incredible she is as a character. I might make my own separate video on her as a character, but god, this cutscene in Metroid Dread is my favorite moment in gaming. It was so perfect. The first time when I played this game, for the very first time when it dropped, and I heard Samus speak, I absolutely lost my fucking mind. I went feral. Alright, I was barbaric. I lost my mind. Hearing Samus speak, and in Chozo no less, was just perfect icing on the cake, because Samus was raised by the Chozo, so it makes sense why she speaks Chozo. This is some manga lore, but Samus lived on an Earth colony called K2L with her mother Virginia Aaron and her father Rodney Aaron, and then Ridley and the Space Pirates came through, ransacked their colony, and killed both of her parents. And so the Chozo, specifically the Thoha, they took Samus in and they raised her on planet Zebes. So she was basically raised her whole life on planet Zebes by the Chozo, and that's when they infused some of their DNA into her, the Thoha and the Makin, with Ravenbeak being her Makin donor. So she has some of Ravenbeak's DNA, effectively kind of making him like a surrogate father to her, which just makes everything so more perfect and meaningful, knowing that Samus is basically killing her father at the end of this game. She got her Makin DNA from Ravenbeak, and then she got her Thoha DNA from Grey Voice, who was an elderly Thoha and highly respected Thoha Chozo. And they're the reason why she has her power suit. They gave Samus her power suit, so you know, like the iconic orange power suit, that is Chozo technology that they gave her. It's as well as like infusing her with their DNA, and it's all so perfect. And then Samus finally, after all this time from when she was a very young child, she you know, that was the last time she saw a Chozo. By this time in the timeline, she thinks all Chozo are dead. There hasn't been Chozo in any game. Every time she's seen anything about a Chozo, it's been through like statues or the architecture that's all beaten down, like the Chozo ruins on Talon 4 and Metroid Prime, and just hieroglyphs and stories and all this. So imagine how surprised she was when she not only saw Ravenbeak, but another live Chozo with Quiet Robe, who is actually friendly and, you know, speaking to her. Like, here is a Chozo live in the flesh talking to Samus, and then she responds to him in Chozo. Like, imagine how cool that is. Her whole life she's just been a lone bounty hunter, doing everything on her own, not really having anyone to interact with or talk to. And then when she does, you know, she works alongside other bounty hunters. Say in Prime 3, she was working with the Federation to basically fight off Phazon. So she was working with these other bounty hunters and Admiral Dane and whatever. But here, she actually gets to talk to the very people that raised her for a lot of her life that she thought were extinct. But here's a live Chozo right here she's talking to. Imagine how meaningful that must feel to Samus. Oh, it's just, oh, this whole game is so perfect. Everything about this is just absolute perfection, and I can't get over it. All right, God, I love Metroid, and I really wanted to do well. Metroid seemed like it was dying or basically dead when Other M came out. That game is an absolute atrocious disaster. I don't know what the fuck Sakamoto was smoking when he made that game, but it looked like Metroid was dead. And at the time, I wasn't a Metroid fan. I didn't become a Metroid fan until like 2-3 years ago, so very recently. And it's funny too, because I remember way back when Smash 4 was still, you know, popular. And this was back when Smash 4 was still like at the peak. You know, I played Samus a couple times. It's like, Samus is pretty cool, but I don't think I'll ever get into Metroid, like the series. It just doesn't seem for me. I don't really think I'd really get into it. It just doesn't seem like my thing. Fast forward until now, it's my second favorite series of all time, with Samus, the protagonist of Metroid, being my favorite favorite character in gaming of all time. So it's kind of funny how that switched. But yeah, Metroid was almost dead. Other M almost killed off Metroid, and then after Other M we got Metroid Prime Federation Force, which might as well not even be a Metroid game either, because Samus is a side character in that game, and that's like the only game in the series where we don't play as Samus herself. So it was kind of weird. It looked like Metroid was dying, and then we got Samus Returns, which was a remake of Metroid 2. While that did show some type of redemption, it really didn't sell that well. I think to this day it still hasn't even cracked 500,000 copies sold. So Metroid was struggling, and it looked like it was going to be another one of Nintendo's long dead franchises. And then Metroid Prime 4 was announced at E3 2017. Still have nothing about that game. We still haven't heard anything about it since the fucking development restart like 3-4 years ago. And then what, E3 2021, I think it was, that Dread got announced. And then Dread came out. This game is a phenomenal. It sold very well. I think it was the highest selling Metroid game in Japan, the UK, and US. It was the fastest selling Metroid game, and I think currently the highest selling Metroid game of all time. So Metroid was kind of seeing, you know, a surge in redemption, thanks to the Switch, no less, since everything that comes to the Switch is almost an instant success. So with the success of Metroid Dread, as well as the Prime Remaster doing very well as well, Metroid is looking kind of good right now. It's kind of on its little redemption arc. So the future's looking bright for Metroid. I really hope we get more games. I really hope Prime 4 comes out at all. All right, first of all, I hope this game is actually real and comes out. But I really hope that Metroid Prime 4 does well. And I'm kind of optimistic about Metroid Prime 4, but I'll explain that in another video, but like a little teaser. Metroid Prime 4 has been in development for what, 6-7 years, technically 4 since they restarted development. First it was with Bandai Namco, which I don't know why they did that, but they restarted development and gave it back to Retro Studios, who created the original Prime trilogy. And as we know, the 3 Prime games are some of the most critically acclaimed games in the entire series. So Prime is a big deal, and Retro knows how to make a Metroid Prime game. So giving it back to Retro was a good idea, and it's been years and years since we heard anything about that. So with all of this time of it being in development, that means they're working hard on this game, going into every little detail, ironing out every single little kink, no matter how small. So this game is going to turn out fucking phenomenal when it drops. At least I hope so. Metroid is on the up and up. It's finally getting the recognition that it deserves, because it truly is an incredible franchise that almost no one knows about. But yeah, I'm so excited for the direction Metroid is going, and I really hope we get more Metroid games. I'm excited to see what Samus's next 2D adventure is going to be, considering Dread is the end of the timeline and it wraps up the whole 2D series, at least, because Prime is different than the 2D games. They're all in the same canon, but Prime takes it's its own like little mini series, kind of. It's still canon, but it's its own thing, kind of like yeah, I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't really think of one. Kind of like fuck, well, I can't think of any right now. If I do, then I'll mention it on screen or something. But yeah, so I'm excited to see what Samus's new 2D adventure is going to be, considering Dread wrapped up the timeline and the story of Metroid for the 2D games. So, and I think in one interview, I might put a screenshot of it on screen if I can find it, but there was an interview where Sakamoto said something along the lines of like, as long as Samus still exists and like Samus is still alive, there will always be more Metroid. Metroid won't really ever truly end as long as Samus is still around. There will always be another Metroid game, which makes me so goddamn happy. We're going to get more Metroid regardless, and it makes me so happy. So I'm excited for Prime 4. Hopefully we get some news on that at some point, preferably a shadow drop. That's not going to happen because they're gonna have to market the shit out of this after it being in development for so long, but this game's gonna be phenomenal. I kind of feel like they're holding off, and like the game is very close to being done, if not done already, and they're kind of just holding off to wait to maybe drop it as a launch title for the next Nintendo console, the Switch 2, Switch Pro, or something completely new, and they're just going to drop it as a launch title. That's kind of what I'm thinking that they're going to do. But regardless, if Metroid Prime 4 comes out at all, is going to be a great day. I'm excited for it. I fucking love Metroid, and I fucking love Metroid Dread. Yeah, that's really about it. I just kind of wanted to gush over this damn cutscene for a minute, and goddamn, I was having a time of my life while doing it. But yeah, I mean, if y'all don't see how much I love Metroid, I don't know what else will show that. But I fucking love Metroid, if you couldn't already tell. But yeah, I love Samus, I love Metroid. It's just incredible. But yeah, that's really about it. So as always, thanks for watching. Have a damn good day. Stay safe, be well, and play some goddamn Metroid. Switching up the outro today.